This is Dan Siegel's work on lid flipping. Is anybody familiar with Dan Siegel's stuff, The Whole Brain Child? Yeah, he's written some beautiful stuff. He's a psychiatrist. This is the brain. What he says is, I want you to think about this like a hand. Okay? So if you can make a fist for me, you can play along at home. There you are. Yeah, get her up. Yeah, I'm just you guys in the middle there. Here you are. Very good. Yeah. Yeah, just waiting for you. Yep, there you go. Okay. So this is your brain, this is your spinal cord and your brain stem. This right here is your limbic system. Okay? If you bring a baby home from the hospital, they have this limbic system on board. This is their only regulation strategy. It's like a gift from Jesus. Really, he gives everybody fight, flight, and freeze. That's this very primitive reptilian part of the brain that happens even in cows, I tell Aaron. Okay? What separates humans from all other mammals is we have a prefrontal cortex that wraps around that limbic system. Okay? This prefrontal cortex sits right over top of your eyes. That is where the magic happens. Okay? That is where all the good stuff lives. Everything you've ever learned in your life is in that prefrontal cortex. Yeah? How to drive a car, how to tie your shoes, who's on your family tree, how to speak a language, what the PIN number is to your bank card. And very important things like how to use empathy, how to apologize. Yeah? All of that stuff lives up there. You are not born with any of that. You must learn it. And when you learn it again and again and again, it's housed in that prefrontal cortex. And the paths that are driven more readily are the ones that stay when we hit adolescence. The one time we touched on an apology or the one time we touched on empathy is not going to stay if what I mostly respond to emotional regulation with is, shut up! Enough! Eyes down! Boys don't cry. Get to your room. What do they then have access to give away? Right? The path most taken through that prefrontal cortex is what they will use in times of distress, right? It's not unlike being in a storm, yeah? If you travel down the same path again and again and again and again and again, what path do you use when a storm's coming? The path of least resistance, yeah? So the more time I can assist you in regulating behavior, the more access you will have when I am not there to help you do it. But I must be there to help you do it enough times so that we can establish a groove in the road. Make sense? It's not going to happen once. It's not going to happen 3 times. And for some of these babies who have a trauma history, you're not going to see it in your lifetime with them. Because it's going to take more than 1 school year to undo what's been done to their little brains. Okay? What Dan Siegel says is, I want you to think about that prefrontal cortex as a lid. When that lid is on, you, the person you chose to marry or date, has access to everything they've ever learned. Huh? They're nice, yeah? They remember their manners. They know what kind of flower you like. They know that you want to get a car when you retire. They remember the little things because they have access to that prefrontal cortex. Yeah? When you, are calm, you have access to your prefrontal cortex. When you go up to the bank machine, you remember your PIN number because you're calm and things are cool. What if somebody has a gun to your head and says, it could take money out of your account? You're in fight or flight. Where is your PIN number? In your prefrontal cortex, which you've just flipped out of the way to get to fight or flight, right? You've heard this? She's flipped her lid. This is what we're talking about. When you flipped your lid, you're losing your friggin' mind, right? Literally. You've lost access to your mind. And what you have left is your limbic system, fight, flight, or freeze, the very primitive way of operating, responding to distress. Here's the thing, being able to flip your lid becomes biologically critical when we're not safe. You're out frolicking in the hills of Edmonton, okay, with your family, okay, lids are on, everything's delightful, and you come across a bear. This happens a lot in Edmonton, I know. Do you want access to everything you've ever learned? Do you want to look at that bear and be like, holy mother, that is for sure a grizzly. Huh, those are big paws there. You don't want access to any of that. You want to flip all of that. Your bank card is irrelevant. You're going to flip that out of the way, and what you want access to is fight or flight, right? It's very true when we're trying to save kids, when we're running across the street and a car comes out of nowhere, right? I don't want any processing capacity to be happening there. I want to act immediately, right? Adrenaline supports that process. Other neurotransmitters support that process in flipping that lid, okay? Do you know what else flips that lid really easy? Trauma. Legitimate ADHD. Legitimate ADHD, because that's a big difference between labeling a kid as dysregulated. Yeah? And when nobody has the capacity to teach a kid how to regulate emotion, they have no access to put their prefrontal cortex on, and you have to do that for them again and again and again and again, because guess what does not learn anything? The limbic system. There is no capacity to teach a limbic system because it is already full of everything it needs to know, which is fight, flight, or freeze. Yeah? When do we like to teach the most? When a lid is flipped, yeah?